Back here in the States, the White House continues to stand by Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth amid his second Signal group chat controversy. NBC News senior White House correspondent Garrett Haake has the latest.
This morning, amid growing calls for the defense secretary to resign, President Trump is defending Pete Hegseth.
You remain confident in Pete Hegseth?
Oh, total.
President Trump.
Why do you even ask a question like that? The spirit in the armed forces is fantastic. No, great confidence.
Dismissing Hegseth's sharing of sensitive military information in a second group chat ahead of U.S. strikes in Yemen. Hegseth appearing with his family at the White House Easter egg roll.
I have spoken to the president, and we are going to continue fighting on the same page all the way.
Overnight, a prominent Republican lawmaker joining calls from top Democrats for Hegseth's resignation. Nebraska Congressman Don Bacon telling Politico, quote, "I find it unacceptable and I wouldn't tolerate it if I was in charge." Adding, foreign powers like Russia and China are likely to be monitoring the Secretary of Defense's phone and, quote, "he's acting like he's above the law, and that shows an amateur person." NBC News has confirmed Hegseth shared sensitive information about U.S. military operations in Yemen last month on his personal phone in a Signal group chat with 13 people, including his wife, as well as his brother and his personal lawyer, who both hold jobs at the Pentagon. That's according to two sources with knowledge of the matter. The sources adding an aide had warned Hegseth not to share sensitive information on an unsecure communication system before the operation. The New York Times, which first broke the story, reports Hegseth shared flight schedules for U.S. military jets targeting Iranian-backed Houthi rebels in Yemen. One source confirmed that to NBC News. Hegseth deflecting questions about that reporting, instead attacking what he called disgruntled former employees at the Pentagon, appearing to refer to 3 top aides he fired last week.
You know, what a big surprise that a few leakers get fired and suddenly a bunch of hit pieces come out.
Okay, NBC's Garrett Haake with that report. And last hour, we heard again from the defense secretary. Here's some of what he said in an appearance on Fox News.
What was shared over Signal, then and now, however you characterize it, was informal, unclassified coordinations for media coordination and other things. That's what I've said from the beginning. At the beginning, it was left-wing reporters from The Atlantic who got a hold of it and then wanted to create a problem for the president. This is what it's all about, trying to get at President Trump and his agenda.
All right, a couple of things that are not true there. The reporter from The Atlantic, the editor, Jeffrey Goldberg, did not get his hands on it. He was included in the group chat. And it was Pete Hegseth who then put the attack plans on that group chat. And this group chat on Signal on an iPhone was actually started by Pete Hegseth after the massive scandal of the first Signal group chat that he was part of.
Concurrently. And, you know, Willie, it's kind of funny to hear him talking about, like, left wing, right? It's like left wing. No, it's Rupert Murdoch's Wall Street Journal editorial page. It's the National Review. It's conservative generals and admirals. It's really anybody that's ever served in the military that understands in combat, as Pete Hegseth understands himself. I mean, he went on missions. I'm sure he would have been really angry if, when he was before he went out on missions, you know, the Secretary of Defense was saying, Pete Hegseth's unit's about to move here. Or it's just, again, this is not even close. And so when you say left wing this, left wing that, that's kind of like on immigration saying, oh, it's just a bunch of left wingers that want to help gang members, when again, you've got the Wall Street Journal editorial page, the National Review editorial page, Joe Rogan, you know, Ann Coulter. You've got all of these people expressing concerns about what's happening on immigration. Again, these people who really support the deportation of illegal immigrants. Same thing here. You can't point to left-wingers on this one. I mean, maybe that works in a tiny bubble, but it does not work with anybody who's ever served in uniform. It doesn't work for anybody who's a traditional conservative, who's a real conservative on military issues, and that's why I really am surprised. We brought up before people that served in the military, like Tom Cotton, who I think told he enlisted after going to Harvard undergrad and Harvard Law School. And then you've got Dave McCormick, who served in the military. Lindsey Graham served in the military. These are all people who understand. This is not a close call. This is dangerous for men and women in uniform. And, you know, if they're not speaking out loudly, I certainly hope they're sending a message to the White House. This is just simply unacceptable.
They all know. They all know. Pete Hegseth knows, as you suggest, that this is bad, that you cannot put attack plans in a friends and family open source group chat and app on your phone. You can't do that.
No
They know that.
accountability.
And as we've been saying for the last several weeks, these are many of them first in line to attack Hillary Clinton for having a server at her home in New York. So they all know. And I just go back to the beginning of this. What you said on day one is, if you just said we screwed up.
Right.
This was a mistake.
That's it.
This will not happen again. And now this is what, month
Happening
2
again.
of this story, and now the second beat of it comes out. There would be forgiveness, I think, in most quarters.
Of course.
Many quarters. They would say that cannot happen again.
Right.
We screwed up. That's it.
So I say, can't happen again. We screwed up. So when we find out concurrently that it happened at the same time, we find that out a month or two later, then you can say, like we said before, terrible mistake will never happen again. We certainly learned our lesson. And it's the same thing with Abrego Garcia. Like, it's very easy. They've already said, we made a mistake. So they're continuing this out. And again, I know some people in the White House think, hey, this is great for us. Well, no, it's not when Joe Rogan goes on like a 3 or 4 minute rant talking to all the people that supposedly helped Donald Trump get elected, going, this is really frightening. This is really terrible. This is a bad, bad thing. We are turning into monsters. And you know what he's saying, we can't turn into monsters to defeat. Again, these are sort of own goals. No need to do this. You screwed up. We've learned our lesson. Won't do it again. And with Abrego Garcia also, it's very simple. Okay, you're right. We messed up. Shouldn't have sent him to El Salvador. Honduras has decided to accept him. Boom. It's done.
But the President Trump and his ethos, first time around, and even more so this time, has never admitted a mistake, never back down, whether it is about Abrego Garcia. We know that New York Times had reporting last week that their escalation in their fight with Harvard was done by mistake. It was a letter that was inadvertently sent.
Yeah, what are they going to do? By the way, what are they going to do on that? We haven't covered that enough. But somebody screwed up, sent that letter to Harvard. And what are they doing?
Right now, they're not backing off. They took the mistaken letter as their position, and now they're fighting on those grounds. And Harvard last night announced that they're countersuing. They're suing the administration about those funds in question. And now there's this, where they have simply not admit a mistake about the improper use of Signal. The group started by National Security Advisor Waltz, and at the same time, this one started by Defense Secretary Hegseth. And now